Hi everybody, it's Erin Scott here. How are you doing? So we're going to tap into the astrology for the week ahead and we're going to jump right in. We're going to take a look at the transits first, okay? So the moon, where will the moon be beginning in the week? The moon's going to be located in Cancer. Okay, so we're going to jump ahead. I'm going to show you how it's going to be traveling through, but essentially what I want you to understand is, and let me go ahead and pull up my highlighter here. What I want you to understand is that the moon is going to be transiting, opposing the stellium that we still have in Aquarius, setting us up for next Saturday's full moon in um, the full moon in Leo that we're going to be having. Okay, so as we jump through the week, okay, so you can see Monday, this is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which we're going to talk about because Venus is going to be entering Pisces on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay, so what I want to point out to all of you is that, where is the moon this week transiting for you? In your natal chart, what house is correlated with Cancer? What house is correlated with Leo, Virgo, right? In your progressed chart, what house is correlated with Cancer? What house is Cancer ruling? Where do you have these influencing factors? Because what I want to point out before we talk about the events of this week is that where the moon is moving and hitting and activating your natural natal blueprint is intrinsically going to activate this area for you. So there's either going to be some level of sensitivity arising as it relates to, and let me actually pull it back, right? So if we start the week here on Monday, right? Monday, February 22nd, with the moon here, for example, you can understand where you might have, one, some sensitivity arising, two, a new level of desire arising with regards to something Cancerian. So either it has to do with home or property, it might have to do with family, it might have to do with your inner desires, it might have to do with where you're seeking nurturance. And the details of all of that, of course, is dependent upon your distinct blueprint. But in your progress chart as well, what houses are activated there? What areas of life are naturally going to be implicated with these transits, right? So what I want to point out is the moon is going through Cancer, Leo, Virgo. These are the areas that are going to be naturally spotlighted, highlighted. Some level of sensitivity and or desire is going to be activated. You will find, because we're going to have a couple of days here where the moon opposes a lot of the planetary activation in Aquarius, there's going to be oppositional energetics at play. Now that happens intrinsically, there's something that gets spotlighted and made aware during a full moon. Something might come to culmination, but because there's so many energetics happening oppose that moon's position, there might be, some deeper activations, especially with regards to the archetypal energetics of Aquarius, ruled by Uranus. There are trauma signatures imbued in these archetypes, in the archetype of Aquarius. So there's going to be some sensitivity that arises, and it is going to have to do with groups, tribes, friend, and belonging, okay? So we're going to take a look at that now, in fact. Before we do that, actually, let's take a look at Venus going into Pisces, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at the full moon that we're going to be having, okay? So as we're looking here, now Venus is going to be moving into Pisces on Thursday, February 25th. It's going to be in Pisces for a month. In fact, it's the 22nd. In fact, let me look exactly. Let's look at the exact time. I'm looking at my ephemeris right now. So about the 22nd of March, we're going to have Venus in Pisces, but let's see exactly. Venus enters Aries at 10:16 a.m. on Sunday the 21st. So I'm recording this on February 21st. It is exactly a month. Of course, we have a short month in February, right? So essentially we have this with this month-long process, and we're looking at a particular signature here, right? So Venus in Pisces, Pisces ruled by a higher octave of Venus. We're looking at this Neptunian energy here. And again, where is Pisces correlated in your natal chart? What area of life is ruled by Pisces Neptune? So understand that there's going to be a new, let's say, attention to this area, a new value that might emerge, new monetary opportunities that might emerge using creativity, using your imagination. But I want to kind of look too at some of the placements here, and we'll talk more about the energies as well. But from this archetypal chart, putting Venus right at that ascendant point, we have the sun located in the first house. So we have the ascendant ruled intrinsically by Pisces Neptune. We have the sun in Pisces at 7 degrees. So the signature for this kind of process for this next 30 days, we have this sun at 7 degrees Pisces. Now, I mean, 7 does have kind of correlations to the great mysteries, that which cannot fully be known. In life, there are things that we can materially see and things we cannot see, right? So there's always the intrinsic mystery. There's always the dynamic of almost the requirement to kind of trust the organizing principles underneath all of the manifest form that we experience as a human being. That 7 energetic is imbued in you as a native, collectively certainly, but as you as a native as well, as you as an individual person. So as we move through this kind of Piscean value system, maybe there's new values being given to compassion, compassionate action, caring for one another, love, doing what is the higher version of the human experience, really stepping up. Maybe there's going to be more charitable giving as it relates to monetary things, more donations, more sharing, more distribution, more caring, and attention to those in need, which is just a part of our world today. So more ethic, more alignment of value system with these things, charity, giving, etc., showing and expressing love, affection, care. But here we have the identity of the sun at that 7 degrees. So for me, this is quite beautiful because not only is the sun in the first house, so the kind of the persona, the way the individual, you, might be operating is going to be very much, let's say, operating from a place of confidence, perhaps. It's not that this month will not evoke growth edges and issues where your confidence might be, coming up for question sometimes. But it is to say that you or individuals might naturally correlate with the natural empathy, compassion, really just giving a lot of attention and what's the word I'm looking for here? Just owning and embodying the compassion itself and confidently doing that, right? Not being ashamed about it or feeling it's weak. That's what I'm talking about here. So there's something about embodying the Neptunian Piscean quality set in a confident way and putting more value in care, providing care, affection, a warm place to hang out and live or care for somebody who needs care, donating money or things, materials that people need, etc., etc. But you're also going to notice that the ruling planet here of this Venus Pisces movement and this personhood in Pisces in this first house, Neptune is also in that first house. So there is this kind of, let's say, lower and higher octave of love that is being activated by the individual and catalyzed, bringing forward action, that might really aid and help the collective in some way. So there is this embodiment of a new spiritual orientation that is not diluted but rather clear. For other people, some people are going to be more in a hyper diluted state, right? It depends on the person. It depends on the individual, right? There can be much more skewed ways of operating for certain individuals here. Placing a whole lot of value in God versus them as a fractal of God, for example, right? So Anyway, this is quite delicious, this particular signature. Now, there's a whole lot in shadow still. So just like some of the other charts we've recently looked at, we still have this stellium here, Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter, and Pallas Athena all in Aquarius, and this is all activating in the 12th. So in the unconscious layer of the consciousness field of the individual, the archetypal individual, there's a lot of focus happening, perhaps refocusing happening. There's a lot of thoughts being given to your soul structure, your life path, issues of the past, patterning that feels toxic or skewed, misaligned, dissonant, and what is calling to be made clear and clean and resonant and harmonious. So there could be a lot of thoughts around these things, focusing your mind on such things as meditation. This could absolutely be happening, especially if our value system is becoming more Piscean Neptunian during this phase, right? It's a natural cycle. This happens all the time. So with Venus and Pisces, there's a new value that we're placing on meditation, on stillness, on quiet, on reflection. And so this next month is going to very much serve these kind of deeper processes that are recalibrating for you underneath the surface. Okay. Learning more about consciousness, about your soul structure, about who you are, about, kind of doing the deep reflection of your life, really assessing, reflecting, contemplating what works, what doesn't work, how can I forgive myself? What are the shame narratives that I'm holding? What are the qualities of self? What are the patterns of my past that I am ashamed of, that I really have a lot of energetics with, maybe even that I'm not even aware of? How is it that I'm suffering right now in my life that is going to require me to go deep? Go deep, be willing to go deep, just see it, right? So again, the new value about the Pisces Neptune process, including meditation, is going to aid in fostering the evolutions that can really play out here during this time frame. And as you know, because it's less than 48 hours later that we move into this full moon in Leo, but you're going to notice that as the signature for this 30-day cycle with Venus in Pisces, the stellium is opposing the moon, and the moon is at 13. So we have the moon at 13 degrees in Leo in that 6th house. So I think for a lot of people, what I'm getting from both these energetics and the polar oppositional energetics with 12th and 6th house, what I see here is that there's going to be a lot of you listening that are going to be very motivated and very driven and very much desirous to be of service, to bring forward your skills, whatever those skills are. And they're multifold. Each of you has multiple skills here. They could be creative skills, or they could just be skills that you hold, that you possess, and you're willing to be of service with them. 6th house. This can be volunteering. Okay, this could absolutely be your work, the work that you do and the work that you're building, and very much focused on how you can bring your creative juice to the fore in order to address the big collective needs. Okay. But what I see here is not only the creative impulse being birthed within you at a new level in the next 30 days, but also the desire to contribute, to volunteer, to be charitable. There's a lot of that here, everybody. And look at this. I mean, the part of fortune for this chart, it's an Eastern chart. It's showing, Venus at this ascendant point, kind of this archetypal chart here. This part of fortune is shown at 23 degrees Virgo. It's in the 7th house of other. This is quite beautiful because the natural flow here has to do with relating. The natural flow has to do with showing up, putting in time, energy, effort, putting in responsible efficacy. Like, how can you be effective for the other? How can you be of help or aid or healing for the other. Do you understand? This is the flow. This is the flow. So I'm seeing a lot of these energetics. In the third house, this is where we have Uranus, and this is also where we have Mars. So there's a drive to um, communicate, to share information. There's a drive to share information of value. There's a drive to share information, third house, of value with regards to safety, survival, foundations. So things having to do with food or nurturance, people lacking food and nurturance, people that need it, for example. There can also be a drive to communicate with regards to home or property or living opportunities. Maybe people are afraid, or they're feeling in lack or in fear because they don't have a home, or who knows, their house has busted pipes or whatever it might be, that's activating a new level of let's say impassioned and motivated and driven communication. Now, for a lot of you, this is going to really implicate your local community. So it could be that you're really helping your neighbors more during this next 30 days, right? So there's a lot of really benefic, generous, loving, charitable, giving, volunteerism spirit that I'm seeing for this next 30 days. Is that going to be the case for everybody? No, but it's certainly naturally activated, okay? There's also Pluto here. Now, Pluto is in the 11th house of the collective or the group or the bigger, wider community here, right? So what is it that's happening out on the collective? Well, it's interesting because in this house, it's ruled by Capricorn here. So Saturn is ruling. There's a level of, let's say, restriction activated and impacting the collective. So a Saturnian group, tribe, humanity is activated. Now, this can look like lockdown because of COVID. This can look like social distancing, but it can also look like there's serious things happening out there in the world that are requiring us to step up. There's requiring new infrastructure and things. We're having to meet the moment, in other words, right? So the kind of, let's say, the breakdown or potentially the destruction or even the deaths that are occurring in the wider collective is also impacting this narrative. So changes and deaths and transformations are occurring. There's a level of stepping up to the plate that a lot of you are going to naturally feel. If you are connected to really the truth of your inner consciousness, okay, you're gonna feel the heed to call, calling, attending to the call, heeding the call to action. So the inner call to action is correlated with the serious things that are happening out in the world, impacting our fellow humans and fellow animals and the earth in general, by the way. But yeah, taking action, being in a place of more love and compassion, seeing life through this lens of more love and compassion, activating a new level of creative thinking, visualizing the ideal realities that really want to be birthed here, and putting in time, energy, and effort to make that come to pass. The 13-degree moon for this particular signature, and by the way, the exact time that Saturn moves in to Pisces is at 8:12 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, the 25th. At this time, we have this 13-degree, 52-minute Leo moon. There's a correlation with 13, the moon at 13. The moon represents 13. 13 represents nature and natural systems. 13 represents the feminine. 13 moon cycles in the year. This correlation with the feminine is very activated here. What I see, especially because of the Venusian compassion that's arising, I think that there's going to be a lot of women coming forward. It's not to say that men will also not come forward, but are there going to be, let's say, lots of women coming to the fore, getting in front of people here in Leo, leading volunteer efforts or charitable efforts in order to make a difference for those that are karmically suffering. There's processes going on now that are part of our natural process as a collective human unit here. And I think that I think we're going to see a lot of women stepping up. Okay. Now, let's pull up the moon, the full moon in Virgo here. Okay. All right. I think I said Leo earlier, by the way, but I just want you to know here it's an 8-degree 57-minute moon opposing, of course, the sun at 8 minutes 57 minutes Pisces. The full moon is happening on February 27th, Saturday at 3:17 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay. So, putting the sun at the ascendant point, what are the archetypal energetics? Well, again, we have this moon over here in this at the descendant point. There's a focus on other. Now, the self here, the sun in Pisces, is very ruled by Neptune. Okay. What I see happening, now keep in mind, we just talked about the Venusian process that's naturally going to be activated for this next month. Right after that, less than 48 hours after, we have this full moon in Virgo. What I see is that there will be naturally so much, let's say, focus and effort on the other or what's happening out and putting in volunteerism and charity and love into action that's required, that indeed the other moon at the descendant point is going to be a natural activation. Now, this chart would naturally bring this forward, right? Sun at the ascendant, moon at the descendant. So we naturally have self and other as the polarity. So we're going to focus more on the signs here, right? Here we have this, the individual, you, and the collective archetypal person really kind of focused on a more loving, compassionate, empathetic, charitable orientation. For some people, this is going to be a more hyper spiritualized orientation. For some people, this is imbalanced. It's skewed. It's too much reliance on God versus not enough kind of ownership and embodiment of their own human embodiment and that potency that you're required to enact here, on the planet. So, but what do we have here with the opposition? Well, the moon is in Virgo, right? Now, in this chart, the moon is also on the descendant line, but let's focus on Virgo because that's what really the main energetic is. The moon in Virgo is going to be very much kind of desirous to get to work, desirous to be of service, desirous to volunteer, to provide for what's needed. And you know that there's this opposition over here to Venus, which is up here in this 12th house. We have the moon opposed Pallas Athena, which is over here still in Aquarius, although it's a little bit out of exact opposition here. I mean, it's outside of a 10-degree orb, but but we have the moon, of course, opposed the sun and not quite opposed Neptune here, but it is opposed Venus. So we have the moon opposed sun, but also the moon opposed Venus. So what I want to say is this. With this particular full moon, there could be a natural kind of orientation to being of service. But inside, unconsciously, there's going to be, let's say, issues with regards to dissolving away your own worth and value. Meaning that a lot of people are going to be unconsciously dealing with inner pain body stuff as it relates to having their service be of worth or having their service be of value. So there might be a level of sensitivity here to, is my work, is my effort of worth and value? Am I also loving myself in this process, or am I giving all my time and energy to helping other people? So again, and in this particular chart, we have Mercury, and here we have a 13-degree Mercury, which is interesting. So it could be that we have, let's say, women feeling that their efforts are not quite as valuable or worthy as other people. Okay, that could be coming up for some. But we have that karmic 16-degree Jupiter as well. So there's certain belief systems about belonging or feeling of worth playing a certain role in the Aquarian collective, right? This is the collective here. This is the group. This is humanity. So thoughts about how one belongs, thoughts about how one fits, thoughts about your role to serve. How are you best to serve? These are questions that are going to be arising, and it's based on your particular belief system. So collectively, there's thoughts that are correlated directly to your belief system, your constructs of reality, that unconsciously need to go through clarity. Meditation is going to help you get to these places of clarity. But there are karmically held beliefs that are not serving you now. And this moon is going to bring something to light in regards to that. That's what I want to say here. When the sun is opposing the moon at every full moon, every month, we have a new cycle of awareness that can come into play. What unconscious aspect of how you operate, what unconscious aspect to a pattern that you enact in your life is coming to light for you now? Well, in this particular instance, there's something coming to light with regards to your work and or your service and or how you give of yourself. Do you give of yourself at the detriment of loving yourself? Or of having faith that you're doing the best you can and there's nothing else to do here? You do your role, you do what the call is, and you don't need to have any, I don't know, inner obligation that you're not doing enough. Because that's something that I see here. You know, this unconscious 12th house of Venus, as this sun, as this full moon comes into play here, can have issues of self-love and self-worth that is dissolved away. Neptune, Venus. You know, it's all about God. It's all about service. It's all about, charitable action. And what else? And are you, in a very kind of unconscious way, also dissolving your own self-worth for the ideal, for the Neptunian ideal of love and providing abundance for those who need it? Because again, the spotlight here, the sun's reflection here on the moon, spotlighting the unconscious aspect, the unconsciousness that's being spotlighted has to do with being of service or the work that you're doing. Now, for some of you too, I have to say this also has to do with your health, right? So there could be something coming up, some spotlight emerging for you as it relates to your health and your wellness. How are you overgiving? What are your beliefs about how you are here to serve other people or the collective? Somehow show up in a way that is going to be an influencing agent here for the collective of humanity. How are these unconscious belief systems and constructs driving you in certain ways that are in some times showing up in unhealthy, toxic, or skewed ways that are simply not aligned with your balanced way of operating? So an awareness, an inner awareness here. How are you giving up your own worth and your own value? Simply in the name of charitable action or what you think God says is right to do versus what you know. You're here to identify what is correct for you. What is correct for your distinct blueprint, right? So, yeah, I think that for some of you, this is going to have a health impact. I think it has been. Again, what's coming to light for some of you is old patterns. Old patterns of how you've denied yourself and you've denied your own health and well-being. You've denied your own whole system wellness, mind, body, and spirit. So somehow you're denying self, something comes to light, and it comes down to how you've denied your own self-worth and self-value, and this calls for the deeper rearticulation here. It's like you're going to have to get to a place of mental balance, of a construct, your worldview, your paradigm. How is it skewed? There's clarity to come here, okay? Now, there's a yod here, okay? There's a yod between this moon and Chiron in this chart in Aries in the first house. There's a quincunx between the moon and Virgo and the Saturn at 8 degrees Aquarius, and these are sextile. So we have Saturn, Chiron, Moon. Now, this is definitively for a lot of you. There will be, for the next 30-day cycle from full moon to full moon, there's going to be an awareness, something coming to light, some new fruition, something that gets, let's say, accomplished or accumulated or brought to fruition, a project or something with your work, something maybe that you've been working on here as we're talking about Virgo. There could also be something with regards to your health that you've been working toward. So it's going to be different for each one of you. But this is talking about there will be, over this next 30-day cycle, an occurrence that is linked to responsibility to the collective. In other words, you getting to work with being responsible for your role in humanity here, doing your role, doing your bit, and it's connected to you as a teacher healer. Now, everybody is their own version of a teacher. Everybody is their own version of a healer. It does not all look the same. Everybody can be a role model and provide and be the truth of your own healing. This is Chiron and Aries, everybody. And by the way, it's also at 7 degrees, right? 7 degrees, again, going back to the sun's position at 7 degrees when we were looking at Aries' entrance into Pisces, right? We have the 7 degrees indicated here. So there's something here about really kind of not coming from the arrogant or egoic or hyper confident state. You know, a Chiron in Aries can be quite insecure if the wounds are really activated, but the Chiron in Aries can also be very kind of hyper confident. Oh, yes. You know, I took a class and I'm already teaching a master class to other people. Okay. That is not the evolutionary process that is talked about here. Okay. This is about humility with the 7 degree. This is about knowing that you only know what you know. There's more to learn, but you can still provide. You can still provide. You know what you know. You provide what you know. Okay. But there is a level of, let's say, adulting that needs to happen here with the Chiron sextiling Saturn. And the thing is, I think it's really going to show up for a lot of you. I think a lot of you are really going to take this on. So what you're doing with your work, how you're being of charitable service for people in need, how you're attending to your own health and wellness, because unless you put your own air mask on, you can't help other people on the plane that's going down, right? So you're going to have to take care of your own wellness in order to help others with their wellness. It's logical, right? But there's these kind of very unconscious belief systems and mental ways of operating that's really based on stuff that you got to get clear on. You know, value systems where you're giving more worth to being compassionate than to possibly ignoring your own needs here. So what will occur this month is that there will be a lot of you stepping up to the plate with your work, stepping up to the plate, becoming responsible for taking care of your vessel, your vehicle, your body in a way that is correct and clean and healthful so that you can be, number one, your own healer. Chiron Aries, this is about healing yourself. But as you heal yourself, you can help show up for others and help them also heal, right? That's what this is about. So I think that this is going to be a tremendous month. Let me put this in the middle, my highlighter. Let me see what else I want to look at here. Again, I mean, same as what we had with Venus entering Pisces, we have that Mars in this third house, right? Now, there's also these kind of, this is also a number 7, right? We have the 7 degree Uranus in that second house. There's opportunities for new things with money or income streams, right? Opportunities that could arise during this next month-long cycle with regards to money or income. So keep your eyes open for opportunities and allow life to show up in miraculous ways because nature naturally does that. If you have the eyes to see it, and if you don't assert a certain position, a certain construct of reality that you're placing on life's events, if you're actually open to the events, then that 7 degree Uranus can actually really break open all kinds of realities for you to see. but you're going to have to open your perception lens first. Now, we are now in fact, we just had the exact square of, or is that true? Sorry, everybody. Let me look at my ephemeris. I just forgot the dates. There's 3 different sections of this year, 2021, where we're going to have exact squares. Yeah. So essentially we're already in it. So as of today, the 21st, we're already in the exact square happening between Saturn and Uranus. Okay. So let me just give you the dates very quickly, and then I'll talk more about this in another video. But between about the 16th of February and the 24th, so mid this week, we have this exact square happening between Saturn and Uranus. Now, keep in mind, this square is activated throughout the entirety of 2021, but there are 3 dates of exact squares. The next exact square, everybody, is going to be between the 12th of June, approximately, and the 17th of June. And then the final one is going to be in December, and that's going to be happening between the 22nd or 23rd of December and the 28th of December, right? So I want you to understand that when the squares are activated, there's going to be various things occurring. I'm going to be doing a separate video on this because there's multiple things that are activated. One of the things that's definitively activated that we're already seeing, it's already coming to light, is that we are going to be required to step up, to mature, and to restructure all kinds of things with regards to our collective human experience as we meet the changes that are happening on a physical material level on this planet. So to meet the changes, we have to step up to the plate. And this takes rapid self-maturity. So self-recalibration, understanding our own narratives, our own wound signatures, our own patterning, and the evolutionary calls to each of those patterns that are skewed and toxic are required now. And this is part of this natural 12th house activation. So the square for these particular processes here, yeah, it's activated because it's activated throughout the week. Again, stepping up to the plate, becoming malleable, becoming adaptable, becoming resilient. And when I say becoming, I actually mean remembering, because humans have an original knowing about being more aligned with natural systems, right? Modern human has become a little bit more detached, more disconnected, right? So this is about learning to step up and become resilient and malleable. You know, creating new foundations when the breaks or the shifts and the alterations occur. This is simply part of our human reality now. It is going to continue for the next several years. For the rest of our lives, it's going to be happening. So we are all in a period of more exponentially rapid and extreme shifts and changes that are occurring for this physical reality, for the earth, for our food systems, for all kinds of systems of human creation, okay? And natural creation, because of our engagement, etc. Okay, so this is correct. This is a correct process. It's a correct aspect of our evolutionary unfolding, and it is. There will be extreme points of challenge, as we are seeing in Texas, that have been emerging in Texas. So this is, kind of, let's say, the beginning of a grander chapter of these kinds of events that will be occurring. And yes, to have the kind of the compassion spotlighting the need to get to work, having this kind of compassionate aspect of self, these qualities of love and compassion, about coming from the higher iteration, the more spiritual iteration of the human person. What does it mean to be a human person? A spiritual person who's embodied in a human form. What does that mean? Well, we're meeting certain karmic events that's going to require us to get to work and to serve and to take care of self so that we can take care of other, you know. And again, there is this kind of natural correlation because the sun of self is opposed to the moon, correlated with other. The desire is to show up for the other. The desire here is to somehow um, understand how we are motivated by what the other needs and how we balance that. In other words, how do we show up for the other in a way that's correct, for the compassion that's calling, but without losing our own self-worth and self-value, right? How do we do both? So there's a new level of mastery here. In fact, the sun and the moon, everybody, is at an 8-degree point, 8 degrees 57 minutes. So let's look at the Sabian symbology here. It's a beautiful symbol, very appropriate. But the 8 does represent feedback loop, karmic process, and power and abundance, right? So this abundance of charity, this abundance of volunteering, this abundance of work and service, doing what's necessary, putting in the time, energy, and effort, etc., etc. This is where the power will be fostered. Your own self-worth will be fostered when you do work, when you get to work, when you are of service, as opposed to hiding in the background, as opposed to being so absorbed with the wounding signature that you're literally choking off all of your own creative brilliance here. There really is so much potential for this next 30 days for you as a Piscean self, the qualities of Pisces emerging through you, to really activate a new level of envisioning. How do you envision yourself? How do you go with the flow of being malleable and moving with the moment in order to help others while also loving yourself while you do it? You help others and you also help yourself. Okay? Let's look at the Sabian symbology, everybody. So between 8 and 9 degrees, Virgo, this is the moon point, okay? Let me go ahead. I'm going to turn off my highlighter here, okay? So let's take a look. This is the Sabian symbol, an expressionist painter at work. The keynote, the urge to express one's individualized sense of value regardless of tradition. So this is just following the impetus, right? At this stage, the individual is seen reacting against cultural standards and stereotyped ways of interpreting perceptions. This is a statement of uncompromising self-reliance, which may even imply a kind of defiance and a challenge to society. The mind is seeking to discover the character of the basic and true foundation of individual selfhood, the Om tone or logos of individual being. In the process, however, what is expressed is usually the reflection of a deep catharsis with emotionally charged and perhaps tragic overtones. This fourth stage symbol brings to us the transformation of the personality. What predominates is a sense of inner conflict combined with a self-conscious attempt at being oneself. But there is a great difference between being an authentic origin of development, pregnant with futurity, and deliberately seeking to express originality. Now, I want you to understand something, that this is in fact the activation, or can be seen as an aspect of the activation of this 30-day full moon cycle. Something might be coming to light within you that has to do with the need to be original versus the true impetus to be the truth of who you are. In other words, is there some need to be the expressionist? Is there some need to be the non-traditional voice? Could it be that during this particular full moon, there is this kind of inner awareness that occurs here? I want to be different. I want to step out. That's where the mind is focused. Unconsciously, the mind is focused on that Aquarian, Uranian, revolutionary and rebel. I want to be the different voice here. And so the inner promptings for some of you, keep in mind, there's a quincunx happening between Saturn at 8 degrees and the moon, but it's also quincunxing this Mercury at 13. So we have, and also Jupiter. You know, it's like these beliefs and these thoughts about how am I going to be the voice that, you know, somehow is the intellectual voice for the collective. But the thing is, what you have to understand is individually, if we're looking at these energies about thoughts that are unconsciously focused on how am I going to influence, how am I going to influence a lot of people here? That is not in line with the growth edge really of the moon here. In my astrological perspective from the quincunx, right? Not according to the yod, but just in regards to those energies. So there's a disconnect here. Here, there's a need to learn, right? Because the sun is highlighting some unconscious way of operating here. So is there an unconscious way of operating that the only way that you will be of service is if your ego has some sort of a way to express its individual, unique, intelligent way of showing up or influencing, or, the distinct genius of who you are? Is that the only way that you'll serve? This might not be a conscious way of operating, but is it an unconscious way of operating? And is it keeping your skills and gifts at bay so that you're not showing up of service? I hope this makes sense, because I think this is really important here. Kind of discerning, coming to the point of awareness where what is it that's going to drive you to actually show up and serve people that need help or wisdom or clarity in some way, and doing it in a way that is also humble. You're also a human being who's wounded. You don't need to show up as the one who, everybody has their own master class these days, right? Every single human being out there seems to have their own master class. Well, there's a lot of beauty in having confidence, and then there's reality. So what is the presentation that's driving how you're showing up with your work? What's the unconscious intentionality with regards to how you're showing up in service? What's the truth here? There is an opportunity with this yod to really kind of show up for the truth of who you are. I know what I know, and I don't know other stuff, and I'm going to bring forward what's going to serve people. And that's what I'm going to bring, and it's perfect because that's where I'm at now, and it's what I know now. Right? So it's a big deal. I think a lot of our world now, our life is about presenting something, presenting the facade on Instagram, on whatever. There's a ridiculousness about it because the facade has become the goal. It's almost like we're working backwards here. It's like the facade shows up and then we'll find the skills that or the wisdom that we hold. For some people, that's the case, and it is backward. And it's not showing up in the truth of who you are. There's a level of awareness here that's happening right after that Venus moves into Pisces, where we have that moon in Leo, the desire to be creatively expressed in your work, the desire to be on stage, the desire to be, but that Leo moon is also co-influencing this chapter, this 30-day chapter ahead, essentially through March, right? So we have a lot of March that's activated with the need to be egoically expressed or to be respected or to be seen for your distinct gifts here. Unconsciously, there's a lot of focus on, wanting to be the revolutionary and wanting to have influence. So get to the truth, because for each of you, it's going to be different. What is the truth driving your actions in the service? Sixth house. This is the house associated with Virgo, which is where we're soon, less than 48 hours later, going to have that full moon in Virgo, right? So you have to understand that there's something here about what is the underlying driver here. Well, I think that there is in fact going to be some awareness, some highlight. The sun is going to be spotlighting the unconscious driver for your work. Get real. Just get real with it. There's no need to put on any facade. There's no need to be anybody other than exactly who you are and where you are in your life process. Okay, everybody. I'm going to leave it there. I am going to be talking about the Saturn-Uranus squares soon, so stay tuned for that. If you have any questions, let me know. My links are down below. For those of you interested to understand your natal blueprint, you can take a look at that. I send you lots of love for your week in the meantime, though. All right? Much love. Bye-bye.